It taught us the importance of hard work, the fact that you have to work if you want something. You don't just get handouts. Welcome to the Blue Top Podcast. We are Sofia and Ariana Jewelewicz, twin sisters and co-founders of Blue Top Legend, Blue Top Yachting, and Blue Top Performance. This is where we dive into all things yachting, maritime marketing, and running a business on and off of the water. From insider tips to stories that inspire, we're here to help you navigate success. Today we're sharing the story of how we transitioned from the original Blue Top to our heart boat, the 16-foot Dauntless. It was a bittersweet journey. We made so many memories on that 13-foot whaler, so many tough decisions. It set the stage for the next chapter of Blue Top Legend. I know we spoke about it in the last couple of episodes, but our journey really did start with that mini Blue Top. That 13-foot super sport sparked our entire passion for boating, the ocean, whalers as a whole. It is the forefront of our two personal brands as well, Blue Top Yachting and Blue Top Performance. Without that 13-foot whaler, we would not be the people that we are today. That whaler taught us perseverance, it taught us patience, and those two things are the things that we use most in day-to-day life, especially in business. It was not easy to find the one. We went back and forth between wanting a larger whaler and deciding to stick with the 13. I know I spoke about it before. My dad actually had an offer on a Montauk, which was a 17, and we ultimately decided to stick it out with the original Blue Top. I think one day went by and we said, I think it's time to move on to a bigger boat. It was hard to let go of that 13 though. It was so hard. We made so many memories and she started our brand. Blue Top would not have started without her, and that has changed our lives. That doesn't even cover half of it. The start of Blue Top has become our lives. It has changed our lives. It has allowed us to pursue our passions together and each branch off into our individual passions. It was really bittersweet having to make that decision and come to the decision that ultimately that 13-foot, we used her to everything that she could have done. At that point, it was time for her to be retired, and we needed a bigger boat to handle the pounding that we were going to keep doing. Speaking of which, Ariana, what made the original Blue Top so special to us? Because I know that it was not easy to make that decision to sell her and move to the Dauntless. It was a very hard decision. The memories that we made. It could have been on any boat, but especially on that boat. Being able to fix her up with our dad, rewiring, doing the upholstery, fixing the engine, installing speakers, reinstalling speakers, installing them again after we broke them. All of that made it so special because even those memories before we got on the whaler, before we were even on the water, we got to spend so much time with our dad and learn so much, and those are skills. Whether it's technical skills like wiring or the patience that we learned, we wanted to get on the water. Before we could, we had to fix her up for about 3 weeks or so. It took a long time. Those memories are something that I will cherish forever, and I know we bring them up so much, but it's for good reason. We spent hours every day, especially on the weekends with our dad fixing up that boat. It took a long time. I would not have changed that for the world because Sophia and I talked the whole time. We were out there scrubbing the boat. It brought us so much closer. I also think that it taught us the importance of hard work, the fact that you have to work if you want something. You don't just get handouts. We actually love to work for our passion. This is what we're passionate about. This is what we love to do. We love to be together. We love to be able to run a brand together. This is a dream come true. It's exactly that. It's the work that we put into it and seeing what that has turned into that's made it so special, because it's not like we were just given this perfect boat that always ran well, that never had issues, and we just got to go out and have fun by ourselves. No, we had to put in the work in, and our dad did help a lot. He did the majority of it, but doing that with him and putting in hours and hours of work before we got in the water and after we got in the water and during when we're on the water and she broke down, or when she's on the dock and she needs to be fixed. It's those hours that made it so special, because that boat has given us so much. It's given us partnerships with local brands. It's allowed us to use our platform for something good, which we never thought we would do. We never saw our lives going down this direction. It has truly changed our lives. That doesn't even begin to mention the memories that we made on the water. Going tubing for the first time and somehow managing to make that little super sport a tubing machine. I went flying off multiple times. It did take us quite a few times to figure out how to tube on her because it's a small boat. It didn't have a massive engine.
We needed to figure it out. We didn't know where to tie the tube. We had to change it multiple times because where we tied it wasn't working. It was too high. It was too much off to one side. And then, of course, Sophia had to figure out how to drive it well and figure out how to make it flip. Because, of course, when we went tubing with our dad, it was on a much larger boat with a much larger engine and a cleat specifically where you could tie a tube.
I like that you mentioned that because we did not have a tow hook. Our dad actually installed a tow hook on the starboard side transom, and we had to tie our tubing rope to there, which it's not where you would tie a tubing rope typically. A couple of times the rope did end up getting caught in the engine, and I made Ariana jump in and fix it.
I totally forgot about that. It did happen, I think, twice. Like I said, we didn't know where to tie that. We didn't really have a spot, so we had to get creative, and we did. Of course, when you turn and the rope is off to one side super low to the water, there's a chance it's gonna get caught. We were careful, but it did happen twice. I was sitting in the water for probably 15 minutes each time, untangling it. It could have gone a lot worse. We could have completely ruined the prop. Anyways, aside from tubing and all of the memories that we made there, that could be an episode in itself. We also learned to wakeboard on that boat, kind of. Given I went 3 times and I'm completely awful at it, I maybe could stand up for 3 seconds and I fall, but you know what? That's what makes it fun. Of course, it would still be fun if you would be able to stand and actually do these cool flips, but on that little boat, being able to stand and fall down, it's so much fun because Sophia's there laughing at me. She can't even go crazy because I can't stand. We're just laughing like, why can't I stand up? It's so much fun going on the ocean, having the time of our lives without the tube or anything. We just go out, pin that throttle, laugh our butts off. And of course, the memories fixing her up after we broke her every single time. The rewiring and the engine repairs and the speakers. That boat broke a lot, but it gave us more time to spend together and learn more about the boat. Ultimately, she served her purpose and earned her retirement. Sophia, how did running such a temperamental boat shape the way that we approach challenges now?
It taught us so much in running and maintaining boats. Our new Dauntless has had her fair share of issues as well. Not too long after we purchased the boat, the steering froze. Not a fun experience because that had never happened to us before. We had no idea what was wrong. We didn't know this could happen to boats. Because of our prior experiences with the mini blue top, we knew the first thing to do was to call towboat. I remember I called Ian with towboat and I said, listen, our steering froze. I have no idea if this is a normal problem. He said, it's fine, don't worry. I'll have one of my guys out there shortly. I said, wait, maybe don't send them because let's see if we can get home. Ultimately, we made it home, but it was not easy.
I remember once the steering froze, we were in the middle of the lake, and somehow we managed to get onto a pole. We were holding onto this massive wooden pole. Sophia was by the engine trying to figure out what was wrong. Then we swapped. She was holding onto something. I was going down to the engine to see what was wrong because we did think it was an engine problem. We had no idea it was steering. You could not move the wheel, and we had no idea what had happened because that never happened on the 13-foot. Of course, it had its other fair share of issues. We didn't know how to handle that. We were waiting there for towboat, and then we were talking, and we were like, no, we'll figure this out. We don't want to inconvenience towboat, but also we know what to do. We can figure this out. We sat there a little bit and decided that, like Sophia said, we would figure out a way to make it home. And although it did take a little bit longer to get home and figure it out, that's something that made it even more special. We could have just called towboat, and we probably should have because the steering was frozen, not the best thing, but it was fun. We still made it fun. We were laughing, kind of freaking out, but laughing at the same time. It's those memories that I love so much.
It was a unique experience, but the fact that we knew how to handle it because of what we had experienced on Mini Blue Top goes to show you that boat taught us so much that we continue to use every single day that we take this boat out, that I take my clients' boats out. It has taught me so much, especially now that I've stepped into the world of brokering. Without that boat, I don't know where we would be today. All I know is that we are living in the present moment and we love every second of this. What's one of your favorite memories from running the original Blue Top that was extra special with that boat?
It's hard to choose one. I loved every moment. The good, the bad, the ugly. It was all so special. If I did have to think of one, it would probably be the first time that we went into the ocean because like we've discussed prior, that first time we went in the intercoastal when we took the boat out for one of the first times, we were terrified. We went into the intercoastal, freaked out that we were so close to water, thought we were going to sink, even though whalers pretty much can't. Drove right back home, and then the next day, something clicked. I have no idea why we decided to be adrenaline junkies all of a sudden on the boat after having no prior experience. And of course, being told specifically that we cannot go in the ocean. The first time that we went in the ocean was so special. It was our first time ever driving in the ocean. We pinned the throttle, there was no looking back. I have no idea why we pinned it. Probably not a smart move for two little girls that have been on a boat and driven a boat only a couple of times prior and have never been in the ocean.
I was learning throttle control. I didn't know throttle control. Didn't even know that was a thing. Didn't know how to practice it. Clearly didn't know how to use it. I think we've established that. Also, that boat was not easy. I know we mentioned it in a prior episode. It didn't have speeds. It was either reverse or all the way forward. There was no neutral on that boat. The throttle was sticky. It was complicated. I went into it and I pinned the throttle because why not? We didn't know it was going to happen. We had never been in the ocean before. We figured our first time, let's just full send it.
We hit that big wave and went completely flying the first time we were out, but for some odd reason we weren't scared. I remember that feeling of adrenaline and thrill rushing through our blood. We pinned it, did not see a wave coming remotely, completely didn't see that coming. We were screaming before it with massive smiles on our face. I put my complete and total trust in Sofia not to kill me. Feeling that rush that we got after hitting that wave and sticking that landing, I immediately knew that boating would be our thing. It is such a sense of freedom that you experience. Also, we've never been on a boat that aired like that. Of course, we went on the boat before with our dad. We went tubing, got flung off a couple of times, maybe pinned the throttle a couple times. We never really went in the ocean with our dad though. This was really the first time, and hitting that air, sticking that landing, I don't know how to express the feeling that we were experiencing in that moment. When you're in the air, your only care in the world is sticking the landing, and we always do it with a massive smile on our faces. You can see just how much fun we had on that little whaler simply by looking at our expressions in the videos. That really shows our true emotions during the time. We are grinning ear to ear, laughing, screaming. We are having the time of our lives. What's one day with the original Blue Top that you will never forget?
That's so hard to pick. There are two moments. The initial jump that we did where we got crowned the Blue Top Legends, and that one time that we caught a mega whitecap. That was a very traumatizing moment for us. I thought that we were going to flip in the moment.
I remember we were going out that day and someone in the inlet looked at us and shouted, "Don't go out today."
I remember that.
Sophia and I looked at each other and we kind of just shrugged. We didn't think anything of it. We weren't being rebellious in that. We just didn't think anything of it. We went out, of course, pinned the throttle because we're not going to look. We pinned it around the corner, and we saw it was a wild day. Being the people that we are, we can't just go out there and then decide to turn around. No, you can't have that, okay? That's letting fear get the best of you. You need to have fun and live a little bit. Looking back, probably not the smartest idea, but we are very lucky. Jesus was watching over us. I remember going out there immediately after crossing the rocks. I was like, this is bad. This is not good. We have to turn around. We ended up kind of following the line of the shore because we didn't really have a space to turn around. There were whitecaps coming at us. At the time, we did not know how to drive. We had no idea what was going to happen. We had no idea how to turn around. We were just kind of winging it. Sophia tried turning around, hit a little whitecap. We could survive with that. Immediately after, there was this massive whitecap, and we went straight at it. There was no angle. We went straight at that thing. I remember vividly kissing the front of the boat. Kissing that place where the anchor is stored. I leaned as far forward as I could. Sophia, I don't know how she didn't fall out. She was standing. At least I was sitting. I remember being so terrified. And then that boat turned around. We landed somehow. I have no idea how we landed that. Looking back at the video, I have no idea how Sophia didn't fall out. I have no idea why we went out that way. As much as a terrifying experience it was, I hate to say it was so exciting.
It's so interesting to hear your point of view from that story, because now that I think about it and with the way that you explained it, you saw the whitecap. I didn't see it. I was looking to the left or the right of me, or maybe even behind me, but I certainly was not looking in front of me. I did not see that whitecap at all. I remember 0.2 seconds before we hit that wave, I thought to myself, Sophia, you're going way too fast for this. For whitecaps, if you know boating, you know you have to approach them at a 45-degree angle and have the common sense to not go full throttle into it. Given if you have a bigger boat, great, maybe you can full throttle into it. Doing that in a small 13-foot Supersport whaler, maybe not the smartest move. We hit that wave. It's interesting that you think that I would fall out because I fully thought that you were going to fall out through one of the sides. I was hanging onto the steering wheel, so I had a grip in front of me. All I had to do was lean forward a bit into the wheel, and I was great. I was fine. I was thriving. I was so worried about Ariana in that moment. We were definitely shaken a bit. We were pretty decently far out of the inlet at that point. Going back, finding our way back into the inlet was not easy for us. We were both shaken. I think we were shivering at that point. We learned throttle control almost instantly. It was simultaneous with the hitting of that wave. I wasn't going slow in the inlet because it was way too rough to actually go slow. You had to have some kind of speed.
That was so terrifying. For some reason, we still managed to make it fun. I think it's the thrill of the fact that we literally hit 90 degrees with the ocean. And water started coming in our boat. I had no idea what to do. As much as I say a thrill, it was terrifying. Don't get me wrong. It was completely terrifying. But we made it out. I think that's the moment where we realized we need to start being a little more careful because we were letting our adrenaline get the best of us, and it is a lot of fun. We still make our hops on the boat. We did have to take a little bit more of a cautious approach. We maybe shouldn't have gone out that day, or we maybe should have gone out after we had known a little bit more about boating.
I do remember when you said that those guys told us in the inlet before we went out, they told us not to go out. I actually knew that it was rough that day. I probably looked at the inlet camera. I knew it was rough that day, and I did let the adrenaline get the best of me. The smart move definitely would have been to avoid going out that one day.
The smart move would have been to turn around.
I think the reason that we did go out was because we hadn't been in the ocean in a while, and when we get like that, we get really antsy for the adrenaline. It did happen to us a couple of times. Usually when we get into those moods, it wasn't that rough out. It was definitely wavy. It was not that rough out. That one day, the smartest move would have been for us to call out of the ocean. However, I am so happy that experience happened because it taught us throttle control, it taught us patience, and it taught us to maybe make the smart decision and not go out in the ocean in 8 to 10-foot waves in a 13-foot boat.
Not only the waves, it was windy. There were tropical storm force winds, which is why the waves were so big. That just made it even worse. That 13 foot, when it's in the air and there's a gust of wind, it can literally tip over. It's not that heavy. I don't even know how to express the feelings because it was adrenaline. I was super excited, but I was also completely terrified for both of our lives. I don't know how to balance those two feelings because on one sense of me is saying, I can't believe that happened. We should have been smart. We should have turned around. But on the other hand, we were incredibly lucky. We landed that. Now we have a picture to show our kids one day. Imagine that. That's a picture that I can show to my friends and be like, yep, this was us in our prime time. And every time someone looks at that picture, they say, you guys are insane. And I love that. I think it's what sets us apart. It makes it so much more interesting. Not many people can show a picture like that. There's nothing similar. You need to actually get there and do it. It's crazy. I love showing people that picture and telling them the story. We vividly remember this experience. And I think that's so funny because it happened about a year ago. And I can vividly tell you every single detail, what I saw, what I felt, what I experienced. I could tell you every detail because of the fear and the adrenaline mashed up in one together. It was a crazy experience. It's such a cool story to tell because it's not one that you hear that often.
Fear and adrenaline are basically the same feeling that your body gets. You have to be the one to decipher which one it was. In that moment, we were both excited and fearful, even coming in. We were so high on the adrenaline. Coming home, I don't think we spoke a word.
We were silent. Remember that. We were going out of the inlet. We were saying, I have no idea how we landed that. And then the whole way home, we were replaying what had just happened in our heads, replaying it and thinking about how we landed it.
It was a unique experience. I understand where my parents were coming from in that they took the keys away after that moment for about 2 hours. I get that because if my kids did something like that, that's their life on the line. And now we understand if it's rough like that, we choose not to go out. If we do choose to make the decision to go out, we wear a life jacket, we wear our kill switch. We have learned to make maybe the better decisions out of these. We are running out of time, so I think we have to make the rest of the episode into a second part.
I think we got a little carried away with this. I do want to mention I'm not at all regretful of that experience. As much as a near-death experience it was, I have no idea how we didn't flip. It's such a cool story to tell, and now that it has built our platform, that jump and that picture from the jump literally built our platform. It was one that completely set us apart. People actually started getting interested in the stories that we had to tell, but now we can use our platform for good. After that moment, we realized that it was important to push ocean conservation, and we could use our platform for movements like that, where we educate about the importance of not littering in the ocean and how you can have fun by using the water and things that you could do on the boat without the drinking. And now we can use our platform for good. We can organize those beach cleanups. We have the platform to do it after, of course, pulling crazy stunts. And now we have realized that we can use it to promote safe boating and use it for something bigger and better.
Emphasis on the promote safe boating. We have learned to slowly become more of your typical safe boater. Yes, we still take risks. Yes, we still love the adrenaline. But now we do it as safe as we can. We do it in a life jacket. We do it in a kill switch. We're trying to use our platform to promote, again, ocean conservation, but mainly safe boating practices to say that you can have fun without taking risks that, number one, impact your health with drinking and everything, but also impair your mental state. You need to be pretty on top of it when you're boating. You need to be paying attention, especially if you're driving. You need to constantly be knowing your surroundings, what's in front of you, what's behind you. Yes, boating has transformed. There's some technological advancements that can show you that, but you really need to be so adamant about opening your eyes and truly being in the moment and paying attention. I think we learned that the hard way.
Those moments of being completely insane in the ocean made you such a good driver. From that, you have learned to maneuver the boat through those waves. Now, I highly doubt that we would come to that jump. I've seen it from when I come down and we go out now. You know how to manipulate the boat in those waves. Of course, we're in a little bit of a bigger boat. Going out still, we could totally flip that boat if we tried. Now you know how to handle it. You know what angle to approach the bigger waves. You know how to come in safely when there's a huge wave in front of us and a huge wave behind us. It taught you so much about boating, and it has really made you into a much better driver, a much safer driver, but also a fun driver, because now we get tube and you know how to manipulate the boat and make me go completely flying on the tube, but you also know how to be safe when I'm learning how to wakeboard. It's taught you so much.
I by no means know everything. I learn every time I go out in the ocean. I tell everyone that. The ocean teaches me so much every single time I take my boat out there, especially when I'm alone, because as cliche as it sounds, I can truly listen to the ocean and feel the waves around me in the boat. Being able to have had the opportunity to pay attention and get used to one boat is definitely a blessing in itself. I feel like I've become one with this boat. This is genuinely my heart boat. I wouldn't trade this boat for the world. The mini blue top has taught us so much, and that has truly carried on to our new heart boat, the Dauntless.
That's it for this episode of the Blue Top Podcast. Thanks for tuning in. We loved having you guys on board.
Make sure to follow us on social media for more behind the scenes moments and updates from Blue Top Legend, Blue Top Yachting, and Blue Top Performance. And remember, we're all about navigating excellence and anchoring trust.
Don't forget to keep that throttle pinned.
And as always, don't touch my throttle. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.